Welcome back to another video. My name is Henrik and today we're going to be looking at the brand new Hyundai Santa Fe. We're going to take it for a test drive. We're going to look at all its characteristics, what has changed on its 5th generation of this car, and everything that you basically need to know about it. So let's get right into it and hopefully you do enjoy it. The cheapest variant of the Santa Fe is going to start at 56,700 euros. If you get the 6-seater variant, you're going to be spending around 63,000 euros due to the fact that that is only available in the highest trim settings of the black line. You got Prime, Signature and also Black Line. We have it standing in the Black Line here. Then you can also opt for the 7-seater, which is going to cost you right around 60,000 euros. The car is in its 5th generation now, and with that they have changed a lot of it. When it comes to looks, they have increased the size of the car, increased practicality, and they have designed this car all around the trunk gate, which we're going to look in a second. In the front, we have active aero down here, a fairly boxy looking design, now also on the side here with H Lights logo in there, representing Hyundai obviously. If you get the Signature, you're going to also get full LED projection lights, which are matrix LED lights. Otherwise, standard-wise, you get full LED lights. Fake grille up here, apart from diesel intakes in here, and a little bit more wheel down here. Pretty good looking design in my opinion from the front. What do you think? Let me know. When it comes to the engine variants, you can see this also doesn't open too far. All of them are going to get a 1.6 liter TGDI 4-cylinder engine, which is in combination with a full hybrid system or also a plug-in hybrid variant. The plug-in hybrid variant is going to start at 64,000 euros. The 1.6 liter TGDI variant with the full hybrid system that we have here with the all-wheel drive system, you can either get it in front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive system, is going to get you 160 horsepower from the 1.6 liter 4-cylinder engine and also 65 horsepower from the electrical motor. In conclusion, 215 horsepower with 367 newton meters of torque. Top speed of 180 and 0 to 100 in under 10 seconds. You do also have the plug-in hybrid variant, which is going to get a 13.8 kilowatts an hour battery. That's going to allow you to get around 53 kilometers of range in there. And in Germany, you will also get an E license plate with that, so you get all of the free parking spaces in the city basically. That is going to, in conclusion, have 253 horsepower with 367 newton meters of torque. There's no option to get a diesel or anything like that. I think in America you can actually get a 6-cylinder, if I'm not totally mistaken, but a little bit more powerful engine. In here you don't have too powerful, and this car actually tows less than a Suzuki, or just a little bit more than a Suzuki Swift. The car is also grown in size, now up to 4 meters and 83 long. That is 4.5 centimeters longer than the predecessor, and also 1 meter and 72 high, which is again 3.5 centimeters taller, up to 1 meter and 77 if you get the roof rails on here. Just for reference, I'm 1 meter and 80 tall. Maybe not. And also the width of the car is now 1 meter and 90, which is without the side mirrors extended. In the black line, you also get a couple of special touches. On each variant, even in the Prime version, so the standard one, you're going to get the 20-inch alloy rims on there, which in our case are going to be in black because we have black, the Black Line edition. We have a 360-degree camera, which you get with the Signature variant, and also automatically foldable side mirror with blind spot assistant. Keyless entry in the front, and also the roof rail on here. And one thing that is pretty nice about the roof rail, if you open the car with the Black Line, you also get this thing in here, which is basically a handle. Let's first look at the key. That thing still looks the same as any other Hyundai, which is very cheap, but it has a different color now. And if you take this out here, you can take that off, and you get this thing. Then you can go on the side and rotate this up, and that's going to allow you to have a handle in there. With that handle, if you use this car as an adventure car, I'd say, then you can use this, step up on here, and use it to do anything on the top of the car if you have the roof rails on here. That is fairly handy, even if you want to step into the car and just like swoop around it. It is fairly practical. Let me lock it up again because you do want to lock it up when driving. Otherwise, wind turbulence can occur in there. When configuring the car, you're going to be able to choose between 8 different colors. On here, we have a color that's going to cost you 990 euros extra, which is a Cyber Sage color with the black touches. In my opinion, looks very decent. The fuel consumption on here is claimed around 7.3 down to 6.9, and you have a fuel tank of 67 liters. If we move on further to the back of the car, because this is where, like I already mentioned, the car has been designed around, because they wanted to be able to get a very big tailgate in here and also increase the trunk capacity. The wheelbase has also grown by 5 centimeters up to now 2 meters and 81 centimeters. And you can see it is just, well, the light bar are fairly far down. We'll see in a second why that is. Santa Fe down here, hybrid. If you get a plug-in hybrid, it's going to show plug-in hybrid. And also a nice little black diffuser down there. If we now open the trunk, before we do that, you get 2 cameras with the black line. For your upper one is going to be for your digital rear mirror. If we open it electrically, you can see that is one hell of a big trunk gate. That is going to get you a ton of practicality because it's easy to load stuff in, easy to get out because you don't have a high load gap. And the reason why they put those lights so far down is because of these big struts. Those struts wanted to be implemented to just have this big, well, opening. Otherwise, you wouldn't be, well, they would be interfering with the rear lights, so therefore they had to choose them so low. If you get used to it, and actually, in my opinion, looks fairly decent. You can get 7 seats, 6 seats, or also 5 seats for this car. We have 6 seats, so you have a 2-2-2 configuration. Otherwise, they get a 2-3-2 configuration. Trunk space is going to be a minimum of 628 liters up to a little bit more than 2,000 liters, which is quite a lot. Towing capacity, however, is not that great of the car. If you get the plug-in hybrid, 1,010 kilograms. If you get the full hybrid variant, only 1,000 and, well, a little bit more, 1,110 kilograms. And you would theoretically, which is nice, be able to put a load of here of 100 kilograms, so you can have like 2-3 e-bikes on there. Should be no problem. But that trunk gate is just massive and so much space in the inside there. Because we do have the 6 seats, you can see we have individual seats in here. And therefore you also get some armrests in there, which are nice, so you can have a very comfortable seating position in here. Seating wise, you have plenty of space. The feet have a little bit of storage space under the seat, so you can theoretically stretch them out a little bit. And you can see legroom is plenty. This is adjusted to me in the front, 1 meter and 80 or 5 foot 11, plenty of space. You also get 2 hooks in the center here, some more, well, 4 dots or 5 dots in there. And just a design, a little bit of storage space in there. 2 USB-Cs or 1 USB-C on either side. And one thing that's also very practical is you have a 2-way opening center console. So you can do this, and then you can open that. Look at that, that's some magic right there. Or you can do it like this. Oh, how is that possible? Down here you also have some more storage space where you can put a water bottle or something in there. And otherwise you get air conditioning on the side here. You get heated seats in the second row for both seats. And you also have an easy passageway through onto the rear seats. You can theoretically also adjust the seat in the front from back here, so you can move it forward, for instance, typical of well, cars of Hyundai or Genesis, for instance. And the second row seats are also manually, or not manually, but electrically, oh geez, okay, that was the wrong button, adjustable. Okay, I wasn't meant to do that. But you can, for instance, even lay fairly far back, and then you have a very comfortable seating position. That was the quick release button, by the way. To get into the rear seats, you can either go through the center if you have the 6-seat variant, or you have a button on the top which you can press, it's going to go forward and then electrically fold the seat forward. And that is going to give you a fairly decent opening in here, to just go in here and then almost rip my pants because it's such a high entrance. Then theoretically press the button again if there is somebody in front of you, and also well, slide the seat backwards. And then you actually got very comfortable amount of space in here. Obviously my feet are going to be fairly high up because you're on the very back. But still you have a little bit of leg room where you can put your feet below, and my knee room is also quite okay. Obviously, if you're over on here on longer journeys, then, well, if you're only one person back here, then this is the most comfortable position because you can actually relax your upper thigh a little bit. Otherwise, well, you're gonna have a lot of room in here. The only thing that I will complain about is that the armrest is, well, out of hard material. That would have been a little bit nicer if it would have been soft material. You get 2 cup holders in the back, actually rear AC, so you have your own climate control in the back here, which is not typical in this price segment. USB-C and also 200-watt power supply. The motto for the new Santa Fe is open for life, and that definitely shows because you have a ton of room in here. The steering wheel kind of looks like, well, a Land Rover in my opinion, very similar to that. We have the 4 dots on here, which actually are represented in Morse code to represent the letter H. Hyundai. Down here, tons of storage space with also a 12-volt port there. 2 inductive loading spaces, which I like to see. We have a UVC, which is an ultraviolet light, so you can, for instance, get it in the black light. You can put your phone in there, bloop, and then you can press the button. It's going to get rid of all the bacteria and stuff like that. Get my phone out again because I want to be able to see my phone. You can see no more germs on there. 2 cup holders in here. Like I already said, 2-way center console, which is really nice to see. Also a fairly decent space. And just in general, we have now 2 2 displays in here, 12.3 and also 12.3 inches. Also a little bit curved, so nicely integrated towards the driver. Not the biggest fan of this down here, because some settings are in here are touch sensitive, but you still have rotary dials for your, well, climate, what temperature you want, which is nice. But if you want to change, for instance, your heated seats, ventilated seats, those come standard in every single model for the front and the rear, as well as heated steering wheel. Then you're gonna have to look down from the road and actually press on them. Down here, a couple of other buttons which we'll talk about. Let's also quick look at the reverse camera, 360-degree camera. And that thing is just a big one. Look at that. But you have trajectory lines as well. Very nice to see that. And just in general, whatever you really need from the car with a 360-degree camera. You do also have parking sensors, which you can easily turn off with that button right there. But in general, very comfortable, big seating position here with even relax function. So you can actually press on the seat. Look at that. Look how quickly I can go back. And I can basically sleep in here. Also a little bit of, well, upper thigh or lower thigh support. If you're in here for a little bit of a trip, maybe you can just have a quick relax in here, 15-minute nap, and you're good to go. Press it back. And you also have memory function. We also have a rear window, which is in digital if you get the black line, like I already mentioned, on the outside. But let's now drive the car. And one thing you notice is from the other, or the previous variant, the gear selector is now up here, just like most new Hyundai models. And when you drive this car, you feel fairly comfortable straight away. This car is surprisingly big, but in the inside it doesn't actually feel surprisingly big, because the drive right, or the, well, size of the car gets very familiar to you straight away. Well, you basically sit in here and you feel like you already know everything about the car, how big the dimensions are, and therefore it is actually fairly comfortable to drive around city. Because even in tighter spots, this car does a surprisingly well job, because you can judge it so good with a good surrounding view. If you look out the back, a really big rear window. So I'm not actually the biggest fan of using the digital mirror, because that rear window is already so big that you can basically see everything out of it. Then you also have a turning circle of 11.6 meters, which is fairly average for the size of the car. So also a good thing. And then you also have the hybrid version. We do have the full hybrid version in here with the all-wheel drive system, and that full hybrid just allows you to cruise around in the city at lower speeds in full EV mode, like we are doing right now. You can see down here, EV is being shown, and therefore we're using the battery to get us moving along. The engine might, well, not just might, but is a little bit underpowered. 1.6 liter 4-cylinder for a car that's going to weigh in at around 2 to 2.1 tons is fairly heavy. Well, fairly underpowered in my opinion. You can definitely tell that on the way that the car only can tow up to 1,000 kilograms, which is not much for its class. And the power isn't really there. Under 10 seconds is okay. You really don't need too much. They focused a little bit more on, well, okay, I completely just drove over the center line there. They focused a little bit more on comfort on this driving train, and it does a good job on that. The combination of the full hybrid and also the drivetrain is fairly well done and incorporated, and that sounds also the new EU law with the updated, that comes to all Hyundai models now. You can press this down for 3 seconds, basically your mute button, and it's going to show tempo 1 is now off. Also, lane keeping assist is a little bit well, rough at sometimes, and then that's how it looks from the front when driving. Looks fairly decent in my opinion. Yippee! So you can hold this down, and then you can also quickly turn off lane assist. Heads-up display, you get that only in the Blackline edition, so you need to get the highest edition to get that if you want it, just like you get the inductor, the rear view mirror is a digital one. But otherwise, this car is focused more on comfort. It is not focused on a good driving performance when it comes to like sportiness, but that's exactly what it does well. It is, for its segment, it's kind of placed between a premium segment and also more of the budget-friendly segment. So for instance, a Skoda Kamiq or a Kodiaq or the Peugeot 5008, but this is a little bit more higher on the price compared to those, and therefore competing with the mid segments, whether in Germany there isn't really much competition. This already, from the interior, definitely competes with the upper class of, for instance, an X5 or X7, XC90. Third row seat is definitely better in this car than the XC90, and the practicality on this car is great. There's a ton of things that just allows the car to be well placed in those premium segments, but the only thing that kind of sets it back is the comfort of the ride quality. You only get the option to choose the 20-inch rims. You don't get 19-inch, which might look weird on the car if you, for instance, get those, which you can't get, but if you theoretically would have the option to. But those 20-inch rims are fairly, well, big, and they definitely give you a feedback of potholes and stuff like that. The ride quality in here is just a little bit more on the firmer side and not on the most comfortable side. That is something that more premium classes are going to be doing a little bit better. But here, especially over these kind of, well, rougher roads, just brick roads, you can tell the suspension really doesn't pick up too much of them. Well, it picks up all of them, but it doesn't do anything with them. It just gives them straight back to you. It is an okay ride quality, but it's nothing to write home about. It's not the most comfortable. They have increased the front dampers to give you a little bit more of your, well, erupt settings or erupt reactions on those to remove them a little bit. Can't really tell you much about that because I don't feel like they have done anything on there. They have also integrated now FCS dampers, which are frequency controlled sensitive dampers. I think that's what they're exactly called. Can't really tell you much about that because I don't feel like they do anything. Just the suspension isn't the greatest in here. But otherwise, this car is really well done. Most of the people that are going to theoretically get this car, based on Hyundai's statistics, are going to get the front-wheel drive system with the full hybrid system in either the Signature or the Blackline Edition. We have that in the all-wheel drive system, and I think that is a fairly good spec if you want to get it. I think even though, well, you can even just get the Prime Edition because the Prime spec is already so well equipped that you really don't need to get the Signature or the Blackline Edition. But most people are still going to be getting the Signature just to get a little bit more comfortable in here. But I still think it's a really well-equipped car, even if you get the very basic of this car. Like I mentioned, WLTP claims around a consumption of 7.3 down to 6.9. We are currently averaging, driving around the city and a little bit of country roads, 6.3 over the last 40 kilometers. If you, well, we have gone up to a little bit higher speeds, you get around 7.5. That's what I'd say you'd average around, which is still good for the full hybrid system. If you are a person, well, living in North America most likely, and using this as your, well, family car to get the kids to school, to pick them up from school, to do your shopping run, then the plug-in hybrid I think might be a good option for you because you are going to be able to drive 53 kilometers of that in full EV mode, and therefore have a very low consumption, and then just plug it in at home, be able to charge it up in around 5 hours to get another 53 kilometers of it, and most of your journey is not going to be longer than that. But if you're driving over longer country longer journeys, and then also doing a little bit of city driving, then I think the full hybrid version is a very well midline of that. It gets a good consumption. That is also due to the fact that you just have a small engine, and that small engine is not going to have the highest consumption and not have the most power output. So what is my final verdict on the Hyundai Santa Fe? I think it is a very well done car. The design looks good, pricing is fairly decent. Engine-wise, could have definitely, well, chosen a little bit of a bigger engine. That would have been nice, or even have an option to get a diesel engine in there. I think the car is going to be mainly a segment for the American market and not the European market. European market, in my opinion, is just not something that is going to specifically look for such a car. Still, in the last, well, total generation of this car in Germany, 84,000 units have been sold, so that's definitely not a small number. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and also let me know what you think of the updated Hyundai Santa Fe. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.